cook again. I was just sitting here, I just be looking through the videos sometimes. And I'm like, man, we get so much attention to the kingdoms of the earth and what they doing play by play all day, every day. We don't get none of that energy to the kingdom and building off kingdom principles, coming out of the world, understanding that we have a what you call a constitution. We have God's instruction, the law, the spiritual law, the natural law, the law, the eternal law. That means instruction, family. We don't run from instruction. You know, God already said, made it plain. People suffer for a lack of knowledge. And talking about what the enemy doing all day or have done all day consumes your life. There's no light in that. We are aware of that. Now comes the part where you have to do something about it. You have to be doers, not just hearers. Because you can get consumed, and it's like a cycle, a repetitive cycle, and we stay there. You don't see no change. Yes, you might see individual change, but overall, it doesn't serve to move our agenda one iota. That serves the company of YouTube channels being able to talk about something. You can't just talk about it. You got to put in that work, family. Boots around where they see movement, and people will know. And though it don't take no whole bunch of people, all it takes is a few good men and women that's really sincere, that know the time, know who they are. And I say, the Most High and love their people. I won't say just know Hebrews, because everybody don't know the Hebrews. And a lot of people will run, but that's the foundation from which I'm speaking. No matter who you are, you're welcome to come into the fold, because this is eternal. I'm speaking. This is God's word. You know, it's not based on religion or none of that. And I'm not speaking against nobody that's blowing the shofar, because you got a lot of slumber brews out here. Hebrews that don't know they're Hebrews, and that they are Hebrews. You are fashioned particularly to serve God over man. I don't care what you got going on. You got to give it, and good things that come with it, even greater. Out of the world and let a lot of that stuff go. A lot of people ain't willing to do that. It's like the rich guy when he asked Christ, "What should I do to enter life, enter the kingdom?" Christ told him, "Keep the commandments." He said, "I do. Keep the commandments, keep Sabbath. I do all that." Christ told him, "Take all you got and sell it, and lay it at the feet of the apostles." So why? The assembly will have all things in common. We are kingdom. And you got to understand, you're not dealing with politics. You're not dealing with, in the kingdom, you're not dealing with. That's why I speak a lot about collecting money. First, you need to understand what that means in God's kingdom when you're collecting that money, because it serves a purpose. There are plenty chapters and verses. We look at what they're doing and mimic. You can tell our whole conversation all day is about what they're doing. It's like there's no context else, there's nothing contextual or no knowledge in us of eternal things. That's why Job 8:8 tells us to seek ye out of the book. Learn the ways of your ancestors. You know, our ancestors had plenty of work to do. So there was a lot going on. We were doing a lot of building. You know, I keep telling you, we're chosen people, or special people unto the Most High. So it's a lot going on. That's how I know we God's people. So that's why I keep it on that level. So I speak the word of truth over your life so you come to your power. We talking about who holding us back and how. That's because we connected to that same system. You can only go so far. God told you to rule. You outside, we operate in that context of the law. God put his law in everything he created. And he put a law in it. And whatever you do, it's an instruction to it. I don't care who you are, how old you are, young, old, it doesn't make a difference. If you keep the commandments, meaning follow the instructions of what you're doing, maintain, you might have your ups and downs. They're gonna try, it's gonna connect you to a lot you don't want to deal with. I promise you, a lot of backbiting, fighting, cheating, stealing, you know, like, no. I'm over here, fam. I'm over here. I'm on kingdom time. That's what we're gonna flourish. That's what we're gonna grow and flourish as a people, as individuals. It's already written. You take hold of your covenant. That's what happens. That's what I'm at with. So, yeah, it's a lot going on in the world. The book of the law, what we call the Bible. Why do you say it's the book of the law, man? Because it's the book of instructions. Law. That is then it goes to the book of the Kings. No, it goes into the book of Judges. Then it goes into the book of Prophets. Kings. And then it goes into the book of Prophets. And then it goes into the New Testament. We gotta know, because that's our weapons of war. It's not gonna come through what you learned from school. You can navigate this, or you got credit, or no, none of that. Ain't none of that gonna stop what's going on in the spirit. That comes from us not operating in the signs, meaning out of context in which the manufacturer created his product to function. Well, how would that happen? What you mean, Wayne? I went to school, learned this and that. That's the problem. You went to school to learn. That ain't what God told you to do. You grown now. I can tell you the truth, family. I'll tell you the truth. You can unhook for yourself and come out of the matrix. You know? Come out of there. Because they just like, they hustling. They hustling. They not establishing no law. You know? And a lot of y'all believe that. Which is, hey, to each his own. I pray for you. It'll come to you. Because sooner than later, you're going to realize it. People pissed off now. People losing big time. You know, people pissed off at a lot of decisions that's being made. But think about it. If you do if I learn like I'm learning, do what you do based on God's system, the kingdom system that's in place, that's been working for eternity. I can go out there and plant a seed, and guess what? It's guaranteed, based off of God's law, that it's going to bring forth a harvest of more of whatever that seed is I planted, without any interference of man outside of water and watch. Make sure you got it covered well, so no birds and squirrels and things come in there and eat your stuff. You might want to put one of those little cages around your stuff. Open and tall enough or wide enough so it can grow, but you want to protect your heart. You don't want the birds and little animals coming to eat your stuff. Yeah. That's God's law. That's spiritual law that's at work. It's eternal. So there's no argument whether or not there's a God. The thing is to find out what he's saying. There is a God. He's always been. Now that we see him, because if it's not man, then it sure ain't, we ain't following the devil. God is not the author of confusion. He gave you his word. His word is the law. That law is an instruction, which gives you instructions on how to navigate this life. He created a God, a mini-me. Genesis 1, verse 26. God said, come, let us create man in our image and after our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish. That's where your power at. What you mean, Dwayne? Invest in fishing farms. Right now, Africa is big on agriculture. They took control of their lands, and they're educating and teaching their people how to harvest. Those don't plant and harvest. They're growing their own food. So it's a campaign. It's nothing overnight, but it's working. It's showing promise and results. And it's showing you can do it with a pot. Get you some pots, or some of those bins we use as containers. Get some of them bins. Go and read about it. Plant you some seeds, plant you some fruits and vegetables. Things you can grow. You got a green thumb, I'm gonna do it. But that is the power. That's the promise, and that's the power of Almighty Yahuwah, the Most High God. And his power is, man can't control it. Yeah, he's gonna tell you about religion and how they think, but he gave you his book of instruction, and he put a law on it. You did? It's backed by the law, an eternal system, spiritual law, natural law. Ain't nothing you can do with that. So you got to learn and use it to your advantage. That's what he gave it to you for. How you gonna rule and you don't know how? You don't have no tools to rule with. What you gonna do? Go get some credit? I'm gonna fix my credit. Ooh, you still connected to the same system. You ain't looking at the surrounding circumstances around the money system that carries, that system carries. The world is rejecting it. It's rejecting itself. Why? Because it's trying to create a new system. It ain't trying, it's creating. You read it in the Bible, Revelation 13. It talks about a system where man will be forced to have to use the card or get a chip. That's for real. It's happening right now. D and F. It was D and F. But of course, I stayed in F grade a lot in C grade. I was rebellious. Here goes some information about, look at this. Breaking news, blocks 900 million GMO seed. The West is hit hard. Why is the West alarmed by Burkina's 900 million anti-GMO seed law? Because first of all, GMO means genetically modified. These are not natural. And it goes against everything God created. That's why I said. And if you follow what they're doing, it's not going to prosper because you're not following the law. He gave you seed. He gave you trees that have seed, have fruit or vegetables. Fruit that grow, that have seeds that grow within itself. And he gave you herbs and plants, fruits and vegetables that have seeds in it that grow within itself. So why are we creating genetically modified things? Why don't we learn what's actually in the soil and use it to our advantage? So, but that raises an alarm with me because it speaks on so many levels of anti-Christ. The nation is showing that it's anti-God. Like, why would y'all be making things that goes against the natural creation of the Most High Creator? And you talking about we a nation built on godly values or a Christian nation. That's why I say I ain't no Christian. We're the children of Israel. The Hebrew Israelites. These are God's servants. Now, yes, he created all man, but he created a group specifically to teach others. So it's my place to speak on things like that and speak in truth because those things not right and people get confused and people don't understand things. GMO seed, look that up. That means genetically modified. That means you made that in your basement somewhere, put it on the market and used it. Yes, you took fibers. That's like with the medicines. You people want to argue, oh, y'all talk. Well, naturopathic medicine is what it is, natural. We didn't have no goddamn hospitals. Why y'all keep talking about hospital this and hospital that? Well, the doctors didn't want to touch you. That ain't no make believe stuff. How little we know and want to speak about things. I'm not being a hindrance or being prejudiced or nothing or rehashing the past. I'm talking about actual things that went on that hindered, that forced your people to have to, relate to natural things. I'm showing you how God's power is real, above what man is talking about. They gonna sell you some bull crap all day. This will do that, then do this in a pill or something. But it ain't no. A lot of these things we can do naturally. You wanna lose weight? Watch what you eat. Understand what your body is taking in. Sugar. Look those things up and then start watching what you eat. And it's just that simple. Like people will tell you they'll get an advisor or some shit like that. And I'm like, advisor? Such foolish people. All you gotta do is do your research. That's the best advisor you can have. You. And because other people might say, oh no, we don't get down like that. Why don't you just listen to this or that? Because it's just like that. Africa just turned down 900 million in GMO seeds, meaning America can't dump them fake seeds over there on that land. No, they don't want it. Bring us some. Why would they take your seeds and they land grow natural seeds? Make it make sense, first of all. They got the melon families, they got the other family, the vegetables, the fruit families, and they got the seeds right there. They grow around the clock. I don't know why Africa don't know this, but Africa know. Africa ain't sleep no more. I told y'all God's people are waking up. And all that we read in Deuteronomy 28, that go to land and the people and places where things were taken out and taken and put in disorder, made to become enslaved, that carried out that punishment. Let's just say that. They carried out that punishment. Read Deuteronomy 32, God said, I said I would scatter you and make the remembrance of his people of no remembrance amongst the nations that scattered them. Who else if people don't know who the hell they are, where they come from, don't have a standing nation or army? The Negroes. Look at all you contributed to humanity, family. A lot of people don't read or want to hear that. I don't want to hear that stuff. But the world's talking about it. These are the things that make life fulfilling. Because why are many blacks moving to Africa? They crying. Black Americans massively relocating to Africa as the American economy collapsed. Yeah, because that means black people going to establish themselves. Like the Bible said, you're going to rule and have dominion. You go over there and plug with Africa. Yeah, they talking about cheaper. No, we looking at the law that's at work. Things going to grow naturally. And there ain't nobody trying to rule over what God has given man. And everything they GMO seeds. They don't want that shit. That's gonna fuck up the agriculture. That's gonna fuck up the soil. Why would they want that? Then when you go to plant, that's why you can't plant and get nothing out the American soil because it's so genetically modified. You plant some shit, it might not come back to its natural state. It might take some time. You're gonna have to re-aggregate the land. So the land will have to lay bare for a while. There ain't no telling what type of pesticides and all that shit they put in the ground to protect this bullshit because it attracts, because of the different additives and things. Why don't you just let the natural grow and the animals, they will fertilize it. Insects and things, yeah, to draw to, but in a good way, because they bring something to the development of it. Like, what is wrong with these people? You trying to outdo God. And you won't tell me he ain't the people in the Bible. We follow everything God say. Y'all better shut up. Better quit playing with me and get this knowledge. And black people, y'all better wake up and stop following fools. He said, I'm going to scatter you to a foolish nation, of people that are not even a people to him. That means they'll have to learn of his ways. Yes, they have. But from the beginning, it was not so. The world was void of light. He ain't talking about no sunlight. He's talking about the knowledge of God's word, which is light. Knowledge in Hebrew is light. So we are what he says we are. What's that? Genesis 1. 26. Ye are gods. God said, come, let us create man in our image and after our likeness. Let them have rulership and dominion. And he listed a whole bunch of things. But he didn't tell you to go trying to rule over people. He has a law that's set in eternity that will guide you. And if you keep his law and you study it daily and you practice it, it will make you successful and you will be very prosperous in what you do. That's what the word says, and that's what I'm testing. And that's what I'm living on. I ain't never had all that other stuff, but I always had the belief that God would order my steps. He would protect me in what I was doing, no matter what I was doing. I believed it because I wasn't doing it because I was disruptive or bad. Even the bad things I was doing it to try to make a dollar. I wasn't doing nothing to try to hurt nobody. When I was out there wayward, it was to get money. Y'all know how it is. Like, y'all just get a job. No, I want to run my own business. Support me. I'm worth it. You're going to get a return on me. You ain't getting nobody sucking your energy out the hood that don't love you. They ain't going to go and have some things made and charge you exorbitant ass prices. Like, they done went and invented some shit. Yeah, you done invented the wrong shit. Usury. And our people just suck that shit up and eat it up every day. Like, y'all better wake up. It's time to empower yourself. You want that system. So that means you want everything that it does to you. You asking for it. I remember Kanye said black people want to be slaves. They went off on them. Well, your ancestors broke the covenant. We keep telling you, you God's people. That's why you landed the way you did. We know who everybody is. We know the Gentile nations. We know who Babylon, the nations Babylon consists of. You could deny, but I read it and I research the nations. Big dummies. Like, stop playing with us. We need to know this because that's what's going to correct everything. No, we don't want your damn religion. Our religion brings everybody together. If God would have kumbaya, I think he would have had a kumbaya. He told you build his kingdom. Stop playing. And he put a law on it. Playing too many games. I'm not even talking about all that stuff, but yeah, because black people want what's right, righteousness. They're operating in the right standing of God's instruction, His commandments for the manufacturer created a brand, and He gave you instructions. Them, if they're telling you anything else other than what thus said the Most High and how He instructed you to know who you are and your purpose, they are antichrist in every way. I don't care who it is, your mama, your daddy, your grandparents, your uncles and aunties, your brother, your sister. I don't care. They are antichrist. They're religious and they reject the truth of God's word. And you better watch them.